her behalf, causing disturbance and a lot of stress. He told me that he understood my side and that he knew what my cousin has been going through with her inability to have kids. He said that he would contact my aunt and cousin to see what they have to say about the situation. Then, 1 week later, OP posted an update. We spoke again with the bishop. He said that there isn't much that he can personally do to resolve this situation outside of referring either of us to counseling services. I asked him if he met with my aunt, and he said that he did. Their conversation was apparently focused on my cousin and helping her heal. He told me that my cousin was also grieving the loss of communication with me and my sister, who hasn't been talking much to her anymore. I told him, of course we cut off communication. My cousin was trying to take my baby to replace hers, and her aunt's behavior was threatening the safety and well-being of me and my family. I think he was losing interest in the conversation, so he just told me to do whatever I feel is best for my family, but to consider the grief my cousin has been through and contact family counseling services for further help on this matter. Me and my partner sent him an email afterwards with a copy to our lawyer to close off communication. I decided to unblock my cousin and send her a message. I told her that my partner and I are keeping our baby, and that is not up for discussion. I encouraged her to seek proper therapy if she hasn't done so already. She hasn't responded yet. Regardless of what she says, our relationship will not return to as it was before, and she will not be a part of my child's life. Man, it's super ironic that the aunt and the cousin both think that they're the more moral family when they're constantly harassing pregnant women, new mothers, and widows trying to take their babies. Man, how cold is that, honestly? Imagine, just think about that. You're a woman, you give birth to a child, and your husband, the father of your child, dies. Then, random women message you and are like, hey, sorry about your husband dying, can we have your baby? One of the few remaining physical memories of your dead husband in life. We want to take him off your hands, just don't worry about it. Go start a new life over or something, whatever. It's just unbelievably disrespectful. Our next Reddit post comes from r/am I the butthole. Am I the butthole for making a girl move classes after she called the cops on a door? What? So, I'm a 19-year-old guy in a nursing program. We do a lot of physical exams on each other to practice, which involves wearing shorts and a tank top. It's important to mention that I'm permanently blind in one eye. I'm constantly running into walls, doors, railings, plants, people, animals, everything. As you can guess, I'm covered in bruises 90% of the time, on my blind side. One day, during our course, we were talking about signs of abuse, and the teacher said constant bruising. I raised my hand and added that it's important to talk to the patient if they're an adult before calling the cops because it could be caused by something else. My teacher asked for an example, so I rolled up my sleeve and explained that all of my bruises were from door handles of the school, and all the bruises were of varying colors and heights. My teacher nodded and agreed. My teacher said that with children, we call the second that we suspect abuse. With adults, we attempt to talk to them first, and if the reason seems valid, we don't call. The lesson continued, but a week later, the cops showed up at my door. They told me they got a report that I was being physically abused because I was always covered in bruises. I told them about my disability, they checked my home, talked to my family, and saw no further signs of abuse. I asked where they got my address from, and they said from the university because they take abuse seriously here, and when they talked to the university about me, the university was very concerned and just wanted to help me. After the cops left, I talked to some people at the university, including a psychologist, just so they could be sure that I had no mental signs of abuse. Then life went on. Well, I was still coming in every day with bruises, and one of my classmates came up to me and said that my other classmate, Kay, was telling people that she was thinking about calling the cops again because I'm still covered in bruises. I got this classmate to write down what she had heard, along with a few others, and I waited. Sure enough, the cop showed up again. It was the same song and dance. But this time, I told the university that Kay was using the cops to harass me and that I wanted something done about it. The university decided that the best course of action was to move Kay out of my labs to another one so that she couldn't see whether or not I was bruised. Kay now told me that I'm the butthole and that she was just trying to help me, and I didn't need to mess up her whole university schedule. So, Reddit, am I the butthole? Opie, honestly, you did this girl a favor, because if she's gonna abuse official resources by being a moron, it's better to learn this now than later when she actually has a job at stake. Also, in the comments, OP says, Some of my classmates told me that they tried to talk her out of it because what abuse victim shows off their bruises to a classroom filled with nursing students and 2 registered nurses? Which is fair, but I didn't know if I went too far getting her removed from my labs. You know, actually, OP, I wouldn't even say that you removed her from the lab. You actually did the exact same thing that she did, which was report it to the authorities. It was the authorities who decided to remove her from your labs. Then, 3 weeks later, OP posted an update. So anyways, I had previously gotten Kay removed from my labs. We still shared class, not labs, and I figured everything was fine now and that she'd leave me alone. But I was wrong. Not only was she spreading rumors that I was abused, but she called the cops again. Apparently, she did this more than once, because the other 2 times the cops came, they said they had 1 report of abuse. But this time, they said they had multiple reports of abuse. When I asked how many reports, they said that it was multiple people. So I don't know if other people in class called, or if she had her family do so. I just don't know. They said they couldn't tell me who called due to privacy when it comes to reporting, to try to make sure that abusers don't attack the reporters. Apparently, my university attempted to stop the police, but the cops had to check anyways. And again, we did the same song and dance. I told them that I felt like someone was using the cops to harass me, and the cops accepted this. They said that no one would show up again, and anyone who calls would now have their name taken down, and if they call after being told not to, they'd be charged with harassment. Well, that was about 2 weeks ago, and someone continued calling, trying to call under a different name, and didn't realize they record phone numbers as well. So there's your update on Kay. She called again and again and again, until she got charged with harassment as well as misuse of police resources. I'm not certain what's going to happen going forward or if I'll be called to testify, but I haven't seen her since. I found all this out from another classmate. Yo, Kay is like, I just know that you're being abused, and I'll prove it by abusing you. See? I knew I was right. Our next Reddit post comes from r/relationships. I make really cool bases as a hobby. These can take weeks to complete and are always made with a gifting in mind. Me and my mom, who's 50, have always been into nature together. We hike, we own animals, and we eat outside if we can. So I made my mom a Siamese cat urn. It looks like a vase, but the top is the cat's ears. It's super cute, and I love the way that it turned out. No one died or anything. It was just the style of the piece. I finished it, took it to my apartment, wrapped it up, and I was so excited about it. Well, my boyfriend's mother came over, and my boyfriend didn't get her a Christmas/birthday present. My boyfriend's mom loves cats, so he just gave her the piece that I made, which she loved. My boyfriend doesn't live with me. He has his own apartment near his school. His mother came over before we went to dinner to see my new kitten. She was in tears over how nice the present was, and I ruined it. I told her that the presents must have gotten mixed up because that was made for my mother. She got a bit upset and gave it back. Then my boyfriend went out to dinner with her. He said that it would be best if I didn't come. I guess she cried the whole way because he didn't have a present for her, so he looked like a bad son. I have trouble seeing where I'm at fault. I understand the nice thing would have been to remake a gift for her or just let it happen. However, this was one of my best pieces, and I always give my mother the art that I make. She shows it off to everyone. It's something she takes great pride in. She has presents every Christmas, and I never miss a year. She even shows off the terrible ones that I made as a kid. My boyfriend wants to talk to me. I'm not sure if he's going to break up with me, or if he wants to yell at me for it. I just need to know what people think. Was I a jerk? My boyfriend seems to think that I was. I love this guy very much, and I really love his mom. She's super sweet and kind, and never really gets nice things. I still don't think that it's my job to cover for his lack of foresight. Her birthday comes every year on the same day. It's not like it's a surprise. I got her a card, which I thought was nice. She thanked me for them later over text, but she seemed really sad about that face. I made her something, and my boyfriend actually got her something that she really liked. She loves cats. That he sucks at presents. Obi, it's funny you say that. I guess he looked like a bad son because he is a bad son. He doesn't look like a bad son, he is a bad son. And he's also a bad boyfriend. left. Then, 3 days later, OP my now disciplined. It had taken a lot of sweet talking to make his mother understand what happened. He told her that I mixed up the packages, but I didn't be present for her, and I just needed to go get it. I told him that I didn't have it. I said that he could go buy one for her and try to pass it off as being handmade, but I was not covering it. I told her that I felt his behavior was cruel to me, and that I couldn't heart, and my mom, his mom, just everyone. He told me that he would not apologize. He just kept getting angrier and angrier. He ended up grabbing a piece that I made earlier this year. I was really proud of it. It was amazing. He said that he would give this to her and that I could find a new boyfriend. I told him that if he left with that, I would call the cops. We weren't screaming, but we were both really angry. He slammed it back down on the table. He told me that he never wanted to see me again, and I should call him when I grow the F up. I told him that we're over, that he was no longer my boyfriend, and I wanted nothing to do with him. I said that he could take the clay back if he wanted, but I had already returned the clay for him as a Christmas present. According to the dribble coming out of his mouth, his mom was really hurt and had left town early. He thought that giving her a piece and shifting the blame to me for forgetting would make it better. I told him to just leave. So now I'm single, with a lot of clay and a lightly cracked nose. I'm not sure how I feel about this. My guess is that the reason why the mom is so angry is because she just saw through his lies. She knows that he forgot the present, and she knows that he was trying to scam both his girlfriend and his mom, which makes the situation so much worse. And in the event, that was r/Best of Predator update. And if you like this content, check out our podcast where I publish the exact same episode. Also, hit that subscribe button every single day. Welcome to r/where OP slaps a teenager. Am I the butthole for slapping a teenager? 32-year-old woman. And I was at a water park this last weekend with my husband, who's 32, and my daughter. We were in one of the pools practicing swimming, keeping close up. There was a group of teenage boys there. One of them came up behind me, and I felt a tug on the strings of my top. I spun around and saw this 15 to 17-year-old boy with a smirk, and I slapped him. The park staff got involved, as well as my husband and another lady saw it happen and confirmed that the boy really did grab my top. There was also a camera around the pool that kind of showed it wasn't the best angle. The boy's parents threatened assault on him, and I threatened sexual assault, and I haven't heard anything since. My husband this is sexual assault. Can a 15-year-old boy sexually assault someone? Yes. Can a 15-year-old sexually assault a 32-year-old? Yes. Is slapping an appropriate response to being sexually harassed? Definitely yes. I mean, yeah, in general, you shouldn't be slapping teenagers, but when they're ripping your clothes off in public, hey, I think that warrants some degree of self-defense. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving the teenage boy and his parents 3 out of 5 buttholes. I'm also giving your husband 2 out of 5 buttholes, because some guy sexually assaulted his wife, and he's like, well, boys. Am I the butthole for leading this speech? I, a 27-year-old woman, was a bridesmaid. And everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid of honor, who's been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but then she made a joke about how family screw up who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny.
Keep it that way.
I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health, and I dropped out of college for a while. My life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all of our friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend Especially since the day wasn't about me at all, so why bring me up in the speech? I tried to stay composed, but the tears came, so I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said that it was just a joke and that she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't, and I ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I don't feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I have the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Also, in an edit, OP clarifies, someone asked me if my sister or if I ever gave her a reason to leave. My sister she told me before a few years ago that, in general, she doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because God only knows what they're capable of. Ever since she said this, I just tried to yeah, OP, the bridesmaid sucks, and the sister sucks too. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving the others 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. It's super easy to give a wedding speech that doesn't involve thrashing on the guests. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I recently took a 12-hour flight from New York City to Hawaii. I had paid months in advance for a comfort seat with extra room, which cost me about $200 plus extra points. Before takeoff, a visibly pregnant woman was walking down towards the front of the plane. Her and her flight attendant look around for a minute, and then the lady approached me, asking if I'd be willing to switch seats. I explained that I had specifically booked this seat because I'm pretty tall. Space. The attendant seemed to understand and went to ask other passengers near me, but no one volunteered. I felt like I was the only one who drew any attention. The pregnant lady then told me that I wouldn't understand what it feels like to be a woman carrying a baby in the summer heat. Got upset, and eventually had to return to her seat in the bathroom. Throughout the flight, I felt awkward passing by her every time on the way to the bathroom. When I landed, I couldn't help but feel guilty. I'm a young man without the burden of carrying a child, and I totally could have sacrificed that. And I wondered if I was wrong to prioritize my own comfort over someone who might have needed it more. So, am I the butthole? Okay, I can understand why you feel that, because human sympathy, but let's be real. If the pregnant lady wanted a more comfortable seat, she should have paid for it. Not expect other people to pay for it and then give it to her because she's pregnant. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes. And the lady gets 2 out of 5 buttholes. 1 for each butthole in her body right now. Well, I kind of had to make that joke. More realistically, I'd give her like probably 0.5. Am I the butthole for suspecting that my wife is she spent virtually 0 money and took no pictures. My wife went to Mexico last week for a friend's bachelorette party, and aside from the plane ticket, the hotel, and the first days of food and drinks, she didn't spend a penny all week. I know on my credit card, it's clear as day that on Monday, until about 9 p.m., she was buying dinner, buying stuff at the hotel shop, drinks at the bar, souvenirs, and then at 9 p.m., she didn't spend another cent the entire week until she was at her layover airport in Dallas. She says it's because her friend took over and paid for everything. I guess that's possible, but what's worse is that my wife is a person who posts her entire life on Instagram and TikTok. But if she does either as a picture or as a story. The last thing she posted on TikTok was the trend of people jumping into their vacation from the airport, and after that, her social media went blank. I was excited for her to go on the trip. And again, I guess it's possible that she really didn't post, but it gives me a funny feeling. When she got home, I said to see all the pictures she took, and she really blew me off. Said that she just didn't feel like taking pictures. She's also been incredibly distant, and last night she said she just felt like sleeping on the couch as the AC gets better.
I had nothing to do with it. We were just better.
Tripped over the dog and made a huge racket. So when I got downstairs, she appeared to be asleep. I brought all this up this morning and said that I'm not accusing her of lying together because it made me feel uneasy. I wasn't trying to bait her or fight with her, just get my feelings on her. She said that I'm a major effing butthole for bringing this up on her first day back to work. I said that I wasn't trying to pry, just communicating with her. And she said, your communication is prying, and I'm not discussing this with you ever again. She then took the kids to summer camp and left. Then, beneath that, OP posts an update, and gosh, do I even need to read it? We all know what's going to happen here. Yep, she cheated. My sister was able to get lots of info from the real estate guy, and my wife denied it at first, but then admitted to it. So I realized that her text probably synced to her iPad, so I just checked. It took me a while to figure out the password, but eventually I did. There was an iMessage at 9:15 the night that she got to the resort from a number with no contact info. It said, okay, I'll meet you in the lobby. Is the app you said to use called Signal? I looked up the app Signal, and it's kind of like WhatsApp. This iPad doesn't have Signal on it. I was confused who the real estate guy was, so I dug through OP's comments, and it turns out OP was able to get a lot of info from some guy who apparently went on the trip, and OP was able to get this guy's number from his wife's iPad. Well, I'm glad at least that OP was able to figure out what's going on here, because this was just a sea of red flags. My wife and I literally don't go through a single day without talking to each other about what our day was like, so I can't imagine going on a week-long vacation and then being like, I don't want to talk about it. Am I the butthole for disinviting a friend from an event after she gave my ticket to her sister? Back when the Eras tour tickets were released, my friend Sadie said that she would grab us tickets and I'd pay her back. We made concrete plans, and I was excited. I've been a Swiftie for years, but I haven't seen her live. I had to sell my Rep Stadium tour tickets back in the 2010s because my mom was dying, and I needed the money to help pay medical bills. So for this tour, I booked the hotel. This past weekend, I was having a little get-together for a bunch of friends, and Sadie was of course invited. At some point, she pulled me aside and told me that she had news, that she's leaving in September. I was heartbroken. We've been friends for years, and I love spending time with her. I got weepy and hugged her a bunch, and said that we needed to get all of our thrifting trips in over the summer and hang out as much as we could. Then she broke the news that as a way to bond with her sister before she left, she was going to be taking her to the Eras tour instead. I didn't know how to react. She stood in front of me and Venmo'd me my payment back. She was like, I know you'd understand. I said that this was a sneaky move, and honestly, really awful of her. And I don't understand how or why she would do that to me. She got defensive and said that they were under her name and that she didn't owe me anything. I was like, yeah, they're your tickets, so legally you can do whatever you want. But this is still a really awful and sneaky thing to do to your friend, knowing that there's no way that I'll ever be able to get my own tickets at this point. She just kinda shrugged and said, sorry, but I figured you'd understand. I asked her to leave and told her to please not come back for the 4th of July party next week. I said I needed to process this, and that I'm really disappointed with her and how she treated me. This is a girl that I've consoled through breakups, job losses, pet losses, etc. She looked shocked and asked if I was serious. She ended up stomping off and leaving, and texted me later to tell me that she's around if I want to apologize for making her feel bad about taking her sister on a bonding trip. I'm honestly heartbroken that I'm going to be watching the show on a grainy live stream instead of being there in the stadium with everyone. I was looking forward to this so much. I checked the resale sites and I had a sad little cry about it. I'm wondering if I'm completely wrong to have just uninvited her. Is that too far? Yo, OP, she straight up stole your tickets. And in my opinion, she's also on the hook for the money that you spent on the hotel. Yeah, she ordered and paid for the tickets, but the second that you paid her for your ticket, that ticket became yours, in my opinion. So, OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your scummy friend gets 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for refusing to push my obese cousin around in a wheelchair for a day? My cousin is approaching 600 pounds and requires a mobility scooter because walking even short distances is very painful for her. In July, she has an out-of-state wedding to attend, and I was asked to taxi her to and from the event, as I'm not currently employed, so my calendar is open. Unfortunately, my car will not carry a mobility scooter, so my cousin will be required to use a wheelchair. The problem is that this event is being held in a public park. I can barely push her wheelchair on a paved surface, let alone across grass and dirt. I tried contacting a couple of rental agencies in the area, but they wouldn't lease scooters in this case because of the off-road use. My aunt and uncle have also declined to loan me their truck, which is how my cousin normally gets around, because I have a pretty bad driving history. I did look into renting a vehicle that could carry the scooter, but my cousin can't afford to pay for that, and obviously, with me being jobless, I can't either. The distance from the parking to the event is about 40 yards, which my cousin can't handle walking. The best solution anyone's come up with is that the party has a flatbed that they're using to tote supplies from the cars. But my cousin says that she would feel humiliated having to be rolled in like that. My cousin is furious with me, saying that I'm shaming her by saying that I can't push her. But I feel that it's the honest truth. Like 100%, the thin wheels of the wheelchair are gonna dig into the ground, and I'm not strong enough to handle that. My cousin has done a lot for me in the past year, so I do feel bad saying no, but I feel like I've looked into every option at this point. Am I the butthole for not being willing to just go and give it the college try? Wait, hold on, OP. You mentioned the truck that she usually gets around on is owned by your uncle and your aunt. So presumably her parents, right? Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they helping her? Why does this fall on you? Just because you don't have a job? Oh, wait. What does not having a job have to do with wheeling someone in a wheelchair 45 yards across a park? Can't people with a job also do that? Can't your aunt and uncle do that? I just don't understand why this is falling on your shoulders, OP. And, even if this was your responsibility, you're right. It's just a practicality issue, because physics are physics. If you're not strong enough to push her, then I don't really know what you're supposed to do here. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I guess I'm giving your cousin and her parents 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. It's a little bit unclear why she's mad at you exactly, and it's also unclear why your aunt and uncle don't help. Oh, maybe they're not invited to the wedding? I don't really know. It's kind of fuzzy. Am I the butthole for selling my late wife's cake recipe to a bakery? My late wife passed away 3 years ago. Our 2 kids were in their late 20s at the time. It's been a hard few years, and it's even harder now that I live alone. My wife had a lovely dark chocolate cherry cake. It was my favorite thing that she would make, and I always requested it for Father's Day. I am a terrible baker, and I've tried to remake it from her notes. The notes aren't very clear, and it never turns out correct. It's depressing spending so much time and it being wrong. I've asked my 2 kids to try to make it, but they've refused to. I was told that they will not figure out the recipe and to stop asking. I went to a local bakery and asked for them to figure it out. They agreed, as long as I gave them permission to sell the cake in the store. It didn't take them long to figure it out, and it's almost exactly the same to my wife's. I bought one for Father's Day, and my kids were happy about the cake, until I told them that the bakery made it. They're pissed that I would sell their mother's recipe to a bakery. This whole week, they've been telling me that I'm a jerk for this, and I'm wondering if I really am a jerk. I just wanted to eat her cake again. Alright, hold on. What exactly do your kids want here? Because you can't cook it, and they can't cook it. So what exactly is the purpose of holding on to a cake recipe that no one can make? At least by giving it to the bakery, OP and other people who like cherry chocolate cake can enjoy it. I am completely on your side, OP. From a personal perspective, I would pay literally like $100 per egg if someone could perfectly replicate my deceased grandmother's deviled eggs. Ever since she's passed away, no deviled egg has quite been the same. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 butthole. I'm giving your kids 1 out of 5 butthole. I don't even understand what they're mad about.
That was r/Am I the Butthole. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole, where OP's neighbor decides that actually she owns OP's pool. Am I the butthole for refusing to let my Karen neighbor use my pool after she demanded that I follow her pool rules? So, I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I live in a suburban neighborhood with a decent-sized backyard and a pool. I've always been friendly with my neighbors, including Karen, a woman in her mid-40s, who moved in next door about a year ago. She seemed nice at first, but as time went on, she started to show her true colors. Over the summer, Karen started coming over with her kids, asking if they could use the pool. At first, I didn't mind because I was usually outside anyway, and the kids seemed to enjoy it. But soon, things got weird. Karen began showing up unannounced, sometimes even when I wasn't home, and I caught her using the pool without my permission. One day, I came home to find Karen and several of her friends having a full-on pool party in my backyard, complete with snacks, music, and pool floats. I confronted her, and she acted like it was no big deal, saying, "Oh, you weren't using it, so I figured it was fine." I told her politely but firmly that she needed to ask before coming over, and that I wasn't comfortable with her just assuming she could use the pool whenever. Karen seemed annoyed, but agreed to follow the rules. Then, last week, she took things to a whole new level. Karen knocked on my door with a typed-up list of pool rules that she wanted me to follow. Her list included things like, no swimming after 5 p.m. because my kids have a strict bedtime. No loud music when my family is outside. Mandatory weekend access for me and my kids, but only for our exclusive use. I thought she was joking at first, but she was dead serious. I laughed and told her there was no way that I was following any of her rules for my pool. Karen, what? Karen got angry and called me selfish, saying that I was ruining the neighborhood spirit and being unfair to my kids. Now she's spreading rumors to other neighbors that I'm a bad guy for not sharing the pool. Some of the neighbors have even said that I should just let it go to avoid drama. But I feel like this is insane. It's my pool, and she acts like she owns it. Then OP posted an update. So I went ahead and installed a keypad lock on my backyard fence. I figured that would solve the problem without needing another awkward conversation with Karen. Plus, all of you were right about the liability stuff. I really don't want to deal with any potential fallout if someone gets hurt using my pool. Of course, Karen noticed the lock pretty much immediately. She was at my door, furious, saying that I was locking out the neighborhood kids and treating her family like criminals. She went on about how I was being dramatic and why couldn't I just let them use it like before. I told her straight up that I wanted some privacy and control over who was using my pool. After all, it's my backyard, not a community park. She rolled her eyes and said that I was being selfish. You know, my mom works in local government, so I actually know a little bit about the liability thing. This is called an attractive nuisance, which is anything that would be enticing to a kid and might entice the kid to come onto the property without permission. So that includes like playground equipment or a pool. And in some localities, the owner is actually required to fence that in and make it somehow difficult to get onto the property. Otherwise, they are liable if the kid gets hurt. Which honestly is kind of crazy if you think about it, but, you know, them's the laws in some locations. So, OP, you're 1,000,000% justified, both legally and also ethically, because this Karen is bonkers. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving Karen, let's say, two out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for tricking my sister-in-law into stealing our baby name? So, I'm a 33-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, Kevin, for 5 years. We have a 3-year-old daughter, and I'm currently pregnant with male and female twins. My brother-in-law, Terrence, who's 38, has been married to his wife, Jess, who's 39, for 7 years. Jess and I are total opposites. Jess is an extrovert. She's kinda loud, boisterous, and some would even say abrasive. I'm an introvert. I'm not quiet or shy, but I am reserved. I'm also very observant. The first time I met Jess, I told Kevin that we would be like oil and water. We've never been overtly hostile towards each other, but we've also never gone out of our way to bond. Unfortunately, Terrence and Jess had fertility issues for several years before finally having their son a couple of weeks ago. Prior to this, Jess was very odd towards us when I was pregnant with our daughter. The best way to describe it is hot and cold. One minute, she pretended like she didn't care while we were talking about it at family gatherings, and the next, she was volunteering to throw the baby shower. I gave a firm no to that. We both assumed the behavior was because of their fertility issues and didn't think too much of it. But the strangest thing she did was almost demand to know what we were naming our daughter before we announced it. She asked us